Hello everybody. Next up we face Olympique Lyonnais, also known as Lyon. It's the second leg of the Thursday night league quarter-finals. Kick-off is at 8 PM UK time and it's on BT with additional nonsense from the Eyes Up Mother Brown crew. If the scores are level on 90 it'll be extra time and possibly penalties. So, Lyon then. Well, last week's effort from them was kind of disgusting from all sorts of directions. A self-admitted match-fixing ref was the ideal foil for the visitors' rather shoddy tactics. In trouble, simply go to ground and let the ref stop play just as the home side looked dangerous. Don't worry about foul throws, he'll just give it back and make sure that you fall over as soon as an opponent gets vaguely into the same postcode area as you. We can expect more of the same, and it's to be hoped a more honest official is entrusted with this match. Incidentally, whilst much has been made of Ref Zvaya's presence on the UEFA list despite his history, our opponents have also got some suspected previous in this area. Back in 2011, needing a landslide away at Dinamo Zagreb to get through to the so-called Champions League last 16, they got just that. A 7-1 away win. Investigations by UEFA and the French betting watchdog centred on the detection of unusual betting patterns, and, having failed to find any, things were quietly left to fall. Both the French and the Croatians were quite angry over the insinuations, but the game looked decidedly iffy, particularly since the Croatians were actually 1-0 up in the first half stoppage time. However, if referee Mark Clattenburg had any suspicions about the game, he kept them to himself in his match report to UEFA. Whatever the truth, Ajax, who were eliminated as a result of that score, are still convinced something was amiss. It's on the pitch where our opponents were at their darkest last week. As mentioned, they were ably assisted by the referee in their endeavours, and frankly nobody can legislate for an official that bad. However, there are things that can be done by a competent official if given backing. Feigning of injury, for example, is already covered by the laws of the game. So, if the referee stops the game for something that is clearly a non-injury issue, a yellow card should be issued. Head injuries are a trickier concept. As we saw against Villa the other week, players are now getting used to the fact that referees are instructed to take things seriously, and rightly so. So why not show just how seriously the matter is taken, by insisting that whenever players stop to deal with a head injury, the player is taken off and forced to undergo a full head injury assessment before rejoining the field of play, let's say for a minimum of 10 minutes. After all, one wouldn't want the physio to miss a concussion. Genuine head injuries would be caught and dealt with, and whilst those designed purely as a tactic to break up play will get the punishment they deserve. That's not a bad idea, that one, which is why nothing will ever come of it. On the pitch, Lyon's last outing saw them draw 1-1 at Strasbourg, a 90th minute equaliser from Toko Ekambi, rescuing a point in a performance described as weak and lacklustre. It appears that Thursday-Sunday syndrome is not exclusively an English thing then. Last week's goalscorer, Ndombele, came in for particular stick from the pundits, his performance being criticised for the dithering that led to Strasbourg's opener. Throughout the player marks there were a string of 3s and 4s, with players variously being described as lethargic and anonymous, which is nice. That said, the Lyon 11 did show 7 changes from the one that started at the Olympic. However, they did suffer 3 injuries during the match. First choice keeper Lopez managed to get himself injured in conceding the Strasbourg goal and was replaced by Pollersbeck on the half hour. There were also knocks for Aouar and the aforementioned Ndombele. All 3 are said not to have trained earlier this week, but up-to-date news is a bit sparse. That's enough of them then, I think. Let's take a quick look at the wild and wacky world of association football. And UEFA's sad and predictable pandering to the so-called Super League plus Tottenham started in earnest as plans for a 36-team so-called Champions League have been announced. In addition to all but ensuring qualification for the 11 Judas League sides by making it almost impossible for them not to qualify, they've also thrown in the idea of having a wild card, sort of just in case. Nearly got relegated? Never mind, play anyway. Never mind the sides that finished above you. Here's an idea, UEFA. Bit radical, but perhaps hear it out. Why not make European qualification dependent on merit? Nah, it'll never catch on. And so to us. Well, that was probably the worst performance we've had in months. In fact, weak and lacklustre probably sums it up. With the possible exception of Dawson, nobody really acquitted themselves particularly well. I'm afraid Antonio in particular had one of his stinkers, with him constantly trapping a ball further than I can kick it. And his constant dithering was responsible for the break that led to their second. I'm sure someone's done the stats, but we never seem to be able to have best on a Sunday after a European match, and that pattern continued this Sunday. Oh well, let's move on. Injury news is not great. Zuma will be missing following a nasty, spiteful little challenge of the sort that would have seen the perpetrator kicked all over the place in revenge, had the match been Sunday League. Zuma's absence will mean a start for Diop, who will really need to buck his ideas up after that performance at the Not the Griffin Park. Zuma's injury means he'll join O'Bonnett on the sick list alongside Mark Noble, who's a doubt with an unspecified virus, though the skipper is more likely than not to be available for the bench. We'll obviously also be without Cresswell, whose dismissal really ought to be the subject of some form of investigation, but won't be. So the prediction then. Well, we're up against it thanks to that abomination of a refereeing performance last week. A performance that was so bad that Felix Zweier has been given the second leg of the Man City versus Atletico Madrid match. Even for UEFA, whose previous saving grace that it wasn't quite as corrupt as FIFA, employing openly bent match officials is, well, a bit mad, isn't it? Either that or the fellow official that Zweier grasped on isn't the only person in European football that Zweier has information about. On the other hand, we do seem to be at our best in Europe when we're up against it. Last week, despite everything going for them with the officials, they couldn't beat us with 12 against 10. This time we'll have 11, and one hopes a better ref. And if you're one for omens, consider this. Back in 1976, we went 4-0 down away at home to Den Haag, largely due to the efforts of a bent German ref, Ruud Glockner if anyone's bothered. We pulled back 2 goals in the tie, and then went on to win the second leg, with an honest ref, 3-1 to go through on the away goals rule. We then went on to beat Eintracht Frankfurt of all teams in the semi-final. So spooky coincidences there. So the £2.50 I was going to contribute to the Zweier retirement home for bent referees will instead be going on an away win. Let's call it 2-1 to us, Mr. Winston, please. Enjoy the game.
So we're here in the offices of a Late Late Show with the host of a Late Late Show, James Corden.
Hi.
Big West Ham fan.
Yes. And big knees up Mother Brown, man.
Yeah.
Get on the forum at kumb.com. Come on, you irons.